Oh my gosh, this is going to be a back and forth battle, is it not? We made a video a few days ago talking about Vancouver Canucks captain Quinn Hughes and what Ryan Whitney said on the Spittin' Chicklets podcast about whether or not it's true that Quinn will find himself in New Jersey at some point. We then made a video a few days later talking about Quinn Hughes' younger brother Luke Hughes and whether or not this guy could find himself in Vancouver. That was last time. Now we're diving into it one more time because of an article posted onto The Athletic. Big shout out over to James Mrtka, who posted this earlier on the weekend. And it's going to be linked in the description if you want to dive into it yourself. NHL cap accrual explained, Quinn Hughes' future, and more. This is your James Mrtka mailbag part 2. But of course, because it's behind a paywall, you can try The Athletic free for 7 days. We're not going to go out there and screenshot the article per se. Instead, we're going over onto another piece that is not behind a paywall that describes what it is Mrtka writes about. And it's right here on pucksandpitchforks.com by Nick Villano that asks, could Quinn Hughes come over for $15 million? James Mrtka, national reporter, gives a realistic prediction for the Devils. Now, before we dive into this article, which will also be linked in the description, Pucks and Pitchforks, by the way, is a New Jersey-based website, and I know this because the logo has the gosh darn devil horns on it. But if we head over onto Twitter, there was a tweet posted by NHL Rumor Report. This is what Michael Russo said last week about Quinn Hughes on the DFO Rundown show. The underlying elephant in the room is going to be Quinn Hughes' future for a long time. We know New Jersey is going to be trying to get him at some point. So keep this in the back of your mind, folks. We've spoken about Quinn Hughes wanting to go to New Jersey to join his brothers. We've spoken about Jersey wanting Quinn Hughes to join their team because of course they do. Who wouldn't want a Quinn Hughes? But let's dive back into this Pucks and Pitchforks article to read what it is James Mrtka went out there and talked about. This article, of course, is not written by Mrtka, but it summarizes what Mrtka wrote on The Athletic. The article opens by talking about how the Quinn Hughes sweepstakes is 2 years away. Usually that would be discussed on most days, but the reason it's not is because the 2026 free agency class is absolutely stacked. Another reason why the Quinn Hughes sweepstakes aren't getting enough coverage is because many believe it's going to come down to 2 teams. See, the Vancouver Canucks captain is considered a loyal soldier, and many believe he takes being captain very seriously. The former Norris Trophy winner hasn't said much about his pending free agency, and his front office has addressed it, but the eldest Hughes brother hasn't said anything to specifically make people feel like he's bound for elsewhere. The other option is obviously the Devils. His 2 brothers, Jack and Luke, are already on the Devils roster and are likely to be signed long-term once Luke Hughes gets his deal done. Many fans think Quinn might take a discount to join his brothers and give the Devils the best chance to compete for a Stanley Cup, but that is just making up info. There's no reason to believe Quinn Hughes wouldn't try to make as much money as possible, even if he joins his brothers. And that price could put Devils fans' jaws on the floor. Here's what James Mrtka went out there and said. He addressed the assumption that Quinn Hughes is Jersey-bound. He agreed in his article on The Athletic that there's something to the rumors, and he said the Devils are fortunate to be in the conversation. The most eye-opening mention in his mailbag article was that he thinks the Devils might have to shell out top-of-the-market cash to make this deal happen. The number would be $15 million. Not only is that one of the highest-paid contracts in the league, it would be $3.5 million more than the most expensive defenseman contract in the NHL today. Would the Devils say no to such a contract? Of course not. Adding Quinn Hughes legitimizes them as Stanley Cup contenders. They don't have to worry about chemistry since the Hughes bros have been playing together for their entire lives. If Quinn Hughes signs for 6 years, which we assume he would based on the price, or 7 years if the Devils trade for him first, then that puts his contract well past Jack Hughes' current deal, and it could secure a future deal for the team's current star. although that might come at an even more insane price. The Devils could make the contract work, especially if they find a new home for Dougie Hamilton at that point, sign Hischier for a deal that isn't beyond scope, and some of the promising young defensemen take over for the vets. So, $15 million. That is what Mrtka goes out there and talks about. Going out there and dropping $15 million as the potential price tag. Let's do ourselves an experiment. Let's go over onto puckpedia.com and go over to the player dashboard. So, the number one defenseman in the NHL by AAV is Erik Karlsson, 11.5 mil. Drew Doughty is making 11. Dahlin is also making 11. Evan Bouchard's coming in at 10.5. Then you have Zach Werenski, Seth Jones, and Charlie McAvoy at variations of 9.5, plus Noah Dobson in there too. Cale Makar is probably the best defenseman in the world at $9 million a year, and Quinn Hughes is down there making 7.85. He's making less money than Shea Weber is right now. Less money than Trouba, than Shabbat, than Jake Sanderson and Owen Power. And Quinn Hughes is undoubtedly better than most of these guys. Heck, I'd say he's better than every single defenseman on the list except for maybe Cale Makar on a good day. So, things can be very, very dramatic for Quinn Hughes should he go out there and get himself a contract that would put him in the same territory as some of the top-paid forwards in the league. Right now, there's nobody making $15 million a year. Connor McDavid is probably going to do that in his upcoming 26-27 plus deal, but Quinn Hughes could be right in there just underneath. He could be the second most expensive player in the gosh darn league. Taking a look at some of these top names and when their contracts are expiring, yeah, okay, Erik Karlsson, the top-paid defenseman, his contract's done at 2027, and he's definitely not going to get this amount on whatever deal he signs next. Scroll down over to Cale Makar, and his contract extends at 27-28, so essentially the same time as Quinn Hughes's does. So all's that to say is that Hughes and Makar are kind of in that same boat timeline-wise. But for Quinn Hughes, for him to be able to settle back and say, yeah, I am the best gosh darn defenseman in the world on some nights, Cale Makar's right there too, but he's probably going to stick around in Colorado because they have a winning team. If you want to sign me and you want to get my services on, even if I'm going to play with my brothers, it's James Mrtka going out there and predicting $15 million as the potential price tag. And I'll go out there and say this as well. If it's $15 million, Vancouver doesn't even flinch. If it's 15, 16, 17 million, I think Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford and Francesco, they've got no choice but to say, yeah, okay, you want that? We'll give you that. Like, you're absolutely not going to take a shade below 16 mil. If you get offered 15.9, you're going to leave. Okay, we'll give you 16. Vancouver has to do whatever it takes, and they'll have no holds barred to give Quinn whatever dollar amount it is that he's willing to accept, as long as he's willing to accept it with Vancouver. New Jersey, on the other hand, things can get a little bit difficult over there. So, ultimately, I wonder whether or not the New Jersey Devils are going to be able to open up whatever cap space they need, like $15 million, for example, to get Quinn Hughes onto a deal. Myrtle's prediction is interesting in that it's not just saying, oh yeah, Quinn's not just going to take a discount to go play with his brothers. He might go over there making bank. And he could really mess up with the New Jersey Devils and their cap structure if he wants to. All three of the Hughes brothers could, assuming their contracts just continue to get more valuable as they get better. Once that cap is all the way up and once these guys need new deals, it's like, okay, you could get Luke for maybe $10 or $11 million. Like, I think that guy has the potential to become that good later on. But all this in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of Quinn Hughes heading over to New Jersey for $15 million a year? And do you agree with James Myrtle's assessment here that that might be what gets it done? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.